Well, folks, Christmas is over. That's right. The NFL draft has come to a conclusion. However, there is a lot to talk about. And today, we're going to be talking about four players that might have helped themselves a little bit in the third round. Let's tune in. Welcome back to the Dynasty Nerds YouTube page. I am Garret Price. And, you have the first round of the NFL draft, which is so much fun. But this year specifically, there were only a handful of receivers. I say a handful, there was like 7, 6, whatever it was, and only one quarterback that actually went. So for us fantasy football people, we were left a little disappointed. Now the trades were wild. That impacted a ton of things for fantasy football, but we wanted to see these prospects that we've been talking about forever get drafted. Night 2, we got a lot of that. We saw a lot of running backs go. We saw a lot of receivers go again. We started to finally see some of these quarterbacks. But day 3 is where you can really make your hay. That's where you can find those diamonds in the rough, those guys that you can draft in the late second, third, fourth, fifth round that you can really take advantage of. And when you hit on those players, that is huge, huge for your Dynasty Fantasy Football team. So let's find out 4 guys that I think helped themselves with where they landed on day 3. First and foremost, Zamir White. Yes, Zamir White has been one of my favorite running backs throughout this entire process. He was RB4 coming into this process, and he's not going to move much for me. Yes, he didn't get drafted until day 3. I would have loved to have seen him go on day 2. Didn't happen, but he ended up in Las Vegas. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait, Garret, they already have a starting running back, fairly young one at that, in Josh Jacobs. Why are you excited about Zamir White landing in Las Vegas? How does that help him? Well, first of all, there's not a lot else there. Kenyon Drake is there, but he had a nasty injury at the end of the year. And anytime that there's a new coaching staff, they always want to get their guys. So Zamir White is Josh McDaniels' guy. All right. He drafted him specifically for this team. Second of all, just the day before the NFL draft, the Raiders announced that they were not accepting the 5th-year option on Josh Jacobs. So that means after this year, he's more than likely not a part of the Oakland Raiders organization. Now, I don't think that they trade him necessarily, but I just don't think they re-sign him after the season. Like I said, new regime, got to get his guys. Josh Jacobs isn't his guy more than likely. So that's where we're at. So after this season, there's a very real chance that Zamir White is the starting running back of the Las Vegas Raiders. I am here for that. I think that's a great opportunity because if it's run anything like it was in New England, the running back's going to get the ball a ton. Now, we've always been frustrated because of how often there's a third down back and then there's another committee. But as of right now, there's nobody here to have a committee with. So right now, it's Josh Jacobs, it's Zamir White, and there's really nobody else. I don't know that it's a ton of fantasy value in year 1, but it lines up for huge potential in year 2. Next guy on the list for me, we're heading to round 5, pick 148 to Buffalo, Khalil Shakir. Now, Khalil Shakir is another guy that I have liked quite a bit through this process. I thought he was going to go at the very, very end of round 3, maybe sneak into round 4. He ended up falling into the early 5th round, so almost a full round and a half later than I thought he was going to go. However, things aren't all bad because he landed in Buffalo, a team that was rumored to maybe even been looking at a wide receiver in the 1st round, but definitely by day 2, a lot of people were saying, nope, they didn't take one until round 5 in Khalil Shakir. Right now, Stephon Diggs is the only one with a truly established role on this offense. Now, Gabriel Davis had a big playoff game, did some nice things towards the end of the year. But after that, there's no one established. Jameson Crowder's trying to come in here, do some things, but we know that's not a long-term solution. Very undersized player, has had a hard time staying healthy for the entirety of his career. I would not be shocked at all to see day 1, Khalil Shakir lining up in a slot for a team that throws the ball quite a bit. Remember last year, Amon-Ra St. Brown fell down draft boards, didn't take until day 3 as well. These are very similar style players. They might not have the ceiling that some other guys do because they're freak athletes or they're 6'3" or something like that, but very solid, very polished, very intelligent players. I think Khalil Shakir really helped himself out by going to the Buffalo Bills here in round 5. Another round 5 guy, but this one's a little different than the first two. First two were guys that I've been pretty high on throughout this process. This guy is somebody that I've been significantly lower on throughout this process compared to a lot of my fellow cohorts, especially pre-combine. Post-combine, people came down on him a little bit with me, but Tyler Algiere. Now, there were rumors before the draft that this guy could run 4.4 flat, maybe even in the 4.3s. He greatly disappointed, ran in the 4.6s, which for his size isn't atrocious. But I thought he'd had a little bit of trouble just with his vision. I didn't think he was the best at being able to find the holes in a timely manner, but he does go from one zone scheme to another zone scheme in Atlanta when he was taken at 151. I think he'd be better in a man scheme, but at least he's going to be comfortable with the system. But the biggest thing is there is nobody truly established in Atlanta. Now, Cordero Patterson did come back, so we know that he is going to be used in the backfield a decent amount. But towards the second half of the year, we saw the novelty of that start to wear off. He wasn't nearly as effective as he was early on in the season. This opens up nicely for a guy like Algiere. Now, is he talented enough to take the bull by the horns and make it his job? I don't know. We'll have to see. But at least the opportunity is there for Tyler Algiere, 5th round pick. So a guy that will move up a little bit on my board, but I still have some question marks. Last but not least, we're going now down to round 6. This is quite a few picks later. Pick 201. Kiante Ingram went to the Arizona Cardinals. And this is another situation with a team that just doesn't have a ton of depth at the running back position. They just brought back James Conner, but we know James Conner has never been somebody that has been super healthy over the course of his career. We know he's missed quite a bit of time every single season. Now, this past season was one of his most healthy, and I think that's what really helped Arizona be able to give him a longer deal than we would have seen maybe elsewise. But still, really the only threat behind him at this point is Eno Benjamin. And I don't really know how much of a threat he is. He was a guy that was taken late in draft 2 years ago, really hasn't done much with his opportunities over the course of his career. And Kiante Ingram can come in right away and potentially be the 3rd down running back for this football team, because we know James Conner isn't the best pass catcher. So it's a potential role. It's upside. It's somebody that could see something happen simply just because of where he landed in the NFL draft. I think the Cardinals were one of the better landing spots, especially this late. All right. I want to tell you guys real quick about Prize Picks. That's right. Prize Picks. It's one of the best ways to go in there and get your props taken care of. You want to start looking at NFL futures? That's what I'm doing. I'm looking at some of these NFL futures, and I can't wait to see what the line is on Zamir White or Khalil Shakir. Chances are I'm hitting the over on that. But the nice part is you can put several sports together. You don't have to just place your bets simply on NFL action. You can do it on MLB, NBA, and a plethora of other sports. You can even get their power plays where you're putting all of these together. It's the beautiful part about Prize Picks. Yes, best of all, you get a deposit match up to $100. That's right, up to $100. So you put in $50, they'll put in $50. You put in $10, they'll put in $10. You want to go all the way up to $100? Do it. They'll match you up to $100. prizepicks.com. All right, guys, that is it. But I know that you guys have some sleepers, some guys that landed in some good spots that you really like from this draft as well. Go ahead and put those guys in the comments and let me know of the 4 that I put out there. Was I right or am I off on some of these guys? Have a good week.